As Han Li stepped foot into the Devil Realm, a torrent of ancient memories surged within him, revealing a mysterious connection between Taoist Xie's former master and the Devil Realm. Taoist Xie explained that his past life was tied to a devilish origin, but he had once traveled to the Immortal Realm and served as a puppet master at the Hundred Creation Mountain. Han Li, ever the strategist, promised to help Taoist Xie uncover the truth, pledging to fulfill the dying wishes of the mysterious figure. The weight of fate pressed heavily on Han Li as he pondered his recent encounters. He had barely consolidated his breakthrough in the spirit refinement technique, and his progress with the five time attribute cultivation arts of the true mantra sect remained stunted. Among these, the mantra axis scripture was the only one he had begun to master, yet the other tomes, particularly the Eastern vicissitudes scripture and time severing flowing fire tome, teased him with their potential. Yet the question lingered. Could they be interconnected? Hanli knew time was his greatest ally and enemy. He began meditating on the time-severing flowing fire tome, contemplating its secrets. This cultivation art could freeze time in its domain, a power akin to the illusory dawn treasured scriptures, illusory dawn sand domain, but with the crucial difference of halting time completely rather than merely slowing it. The tome, however, had limited scope, and its influence could only expand with mastery. Despite his fascination, Hanli's focus shifted to the Eastern vicissitudes scripture, which held the secret to controlling the four seasons and accelerating the growth of spirit plants. This realization sparked a plan. He could manipulate time to hasten the growth of his spiritual garden. Yet his greatest breakthrough came when he noticed that the time-severing flowing fire tome held the answer to the bottleneck he had been facing in the illusory dawn treasured scripture. The interconnectedness of these five cultivation arts struck him, each distinct in its application, yet ultimately bound together by time and the five elements. Could the great five elemental illusion mantra be the key to unlocking their combined potential? Determined to understand these mysteries, Hanli poured himself into study, though he quickly realized that each cultivation art was a labyrinth, each path fraught with contradictions. His frustration grew as he found no clear path forward. Yet a breakthrough came when he recalled the Sumeru Insights, a bamboo slip containing the key to understanding the true order of the cultivation arts. Several months passed in seclusion. During this time, Han Li's cultivation advanced and his understanding of the Sumeru insights deepened. The text revealed itself not as a cultivation method, but as a guide to understanding the five time attribute arts in their proper sequence, the order in which they were crucial to mastering the great five elemental illusion mantra. Han Li had been approaching it from the wrong angle, but now, with patience and resolve, he had unlocked the secrets of the Sumeru insights, a profound revelation that would shape his path forward. Emerging from his seclusion, Han Li was reinvigorated. His breakthrough with the Sumeru insights marked the beginning of a new chapter in his cultivation journey, one that promised to unlock the true potential of the five time attribute arts. But as he stepped out into the courtyard, he could not shake the feeling that the forces at play in the Devil Realm and the Immortal Realm would soon converge in ways he could not yet foresee. In the depths of his seclusion, Han Li began to comprehend the true purpose of Patriarch Miro's deliberate partitioning of the great five elemental illusion mantra into five parts. It became clear that this was not merely a safeguard, but an alternative inheritance designed to preserve the mantra should its original form ever be lost. Had it not been for this foresight, the great art would have vanished entirely, leaving Han Li to reflect with a somber sigh. For 2 months, he labored tirelessly, reassembling the five pieces into a new form of the mantra based on his Sumeru insights. Though the details still required refinement, the foundation was complete. With this new version, Han Li had reached the third level, and once he mastered the full set of treasures, the mantra treasured axis, the clear time vial, illusory dawn sand, time severing flowing fire, and the Eastern divine tree, he would ascend to the sixth level, placing him at the mid-high zenith stage. Yet, as he pondered the path ahead, Han Li knew that this reconstructed version would diverge from the original, and he anticipated many obstacles. The constant need to juggle between the five arts would undoubtedly complicate his progress. Despite these challenges, he was eager to find a secluded place to cultivate in peace, though circumstances had not yet granted him that luxury. When he finally emerged from his meditative state, Hanli was greeted by the news of an urgent visit from fellow Taoist Shi. As they exchanged pleasantries, Hanli inquired about Taoist She's progress, only to find that the mysterious phrase "Scalptia spatial domain" continued to haunt him, offering little more than cryptic hints. After expressing his gratitude, Hanli departed for the serene lotus courtyard. As he crossed the covered bridge to the small island at the heart of a tranquil lake, he was greeted by Shi Chuan Kong, who had been expecting him. The island, shrouded in a dense forest, was unusually silent, and Han Li soon learned that she had set up an array to detect his arrival. A conversation ensued, revealing disturbing news from Shi's third brother. While reinforcements were on the way, it seemed the eldest brother had caught wind of their location. Han Li deduced that their cover had likely been blown, and it was only a matter of time before either allies or enemies would arrive. Deciding that the safest course of action was to stay put, Han Li and Shi Chuankong devised further safety measures. The following days passed in a tense, quiet rhythm, as Han Li kept to the island, cultivating in the evenings while Shi made his rounds in the city. Half a month later, a sudden disturbance shattered the calm of the night. As Han Li meditated in the Green Sorrow courtyard, two streaks of light, a deep azure and a vivid purple, raced toward the island. The azure streak landed upon the island, while the purple one veered toward Han Li, revealing a stunning woman in a purple gown. Despite her smile, a fleeting glimmer of disdain crossed her face, something Han Li, ever vigilant, quickly caught. She introduced herself and, with a practiced grace, offered him an enticing proposition: allow her to handle matters on the island, and her master would reward him handsomely. Han Li, however, was no stranger to treachery and responded with wry humor. Before the woman could elaborate further, a loud explosion erupted from the island. A massive silver array rose from the lake, sending violent tremors through the ground. The island, along with the array, sank into the depths of the lake. The woman, furious, turned her attention back to Han Li, but before she could act, Han Li was already upon her, his mantra treasured axis in motion. The axis unleashed golden ripples that slowed her movements, leaving her vulnerable. Han Li's chains shot out, piercing her mind and trapping her consciousness in a spiritual sense cage. As she struggled, Han Li remained impassive, his control absolute. Shi Chuankong, emerging from the flower branch domain, was momentarily startled by the sight of the woman, recognizing her as one of his brother's prized concubines. Grateful for Han Li's timely intervention, Shi confirmed his suspicion that these two were dangerous foes. The two discussed their next move, with Shi preparing to deal with the woman now that she was powerless. But just as they were about to act, an unexpected turn of events loomed on the horizon. The woman's lips curled into a sinister smile, and from her shoulder, an azure nascent soul emerged, casting a venomous glare at Han Li before vanishing into her body. A burst of azure light enveloped her, transforming her black hair into one half azure and the other purple, and her pupils shifted accordingly. Han Li sensed a vast spiritual presence surge from her, effortlessly eradicating his spiritual sense cage. Two souls share this body, Han Li gasped, retreating swiftly. Shi Chuankong, bewildered, commented, I knew they were twin sisters of great power, but never that they shared a body. What then was destroyed on the island? Han Li grimly responded, likely an avatar. Their combined souls could rival a great encompassment cultivator. Be cautious. Before Han Li could warn further, a sharp, piercing shriek cut through the air, assaulting both their consciousnesses with such intensity that their spiritual senses scrambled. Their immortal power faltered, and they plummeted from the sky. Han Li, racked with pain, focused on his spirit refinement technique to ward off the mental attack. The woman's voice, now gruff, echoed, Our master spared you out of kindness, but you've sealed your fate. Qingling's tone, coarse and mocking, followed. Han Li steadied himself, calling upon 18 azure bamboo cloud-swarm swords, their tips now trained on her. The woman sneered coldly and incanted a spell, plunging the world around them into darkness. Han Li's eyes rose to two massive eyes, one azure, the other purple, hovering above them. The light from these eyes washed over him, but instead of pain, Han Li felt an inexplicable warmth. The sensation, soothing yet deceptive, lulled his mind toward lethargy. Deep within, azure and purple bands of light encased his soul, attempting to bind it. But Han Li, unyielding and seasoned, resisted. His willpower far surpassed the woman's expectations. She muttered in surprise, "No one below the mid-high zenith has ever withstood such an assault." Yet her resolve remained firm, her voice now that of Zihe, cautioning Qingling not to grow complacent. "His soul is stronger than a jade immortal's. We must claim their heads for our master." Zihe acquiesced, and Han Li, shaking off the effects of the spiritual assault, steeled himself. He activated his reversal true axis, launching himself toward the woman, the 18 swords close behind. Yet, an invisible barrier halted them at 100 feet. Han Li's infernal devilish eyes revealed the source, thin spiritual sense threads wrapping the swords, binding them in place. His brow furrowed, and golden lightning crackled from his swords, severing the threads with ease. The swords surged forward, but the woman was prepared. She formed a strange hand seal, releasing a semi-transparent spirit domain that trapped the swords. As they entered the domain, Han Li's connection with them snapped. The swords hovered inert, and his spiritual sense wavered within the domain's influence. Realizing his spiritual sense was hindered, Han Li summoned a sword, slicing through the air, channeling golden lightning. A wave of relief washed over him. He could still control his swords without direct spiritual connection. Yet, frustration gnawed at him. Had he advanced further in his spirit refinement technique, he might be better equipped to counter this threat. A mocking voice shattered his thoughts. "Don't get distracted." Z sneered, releasing a strange lantern that flew toward him. But the lantern, adorned with strange beast engravings, held a flickering green flame. Han Li froze, his entire being drawn to the flame, and his spiritual sense began to drain, flowing toward the lantern's glowing green light. "The soul-devouring lamp has been lit in his consciousness." Qingling's voice rang out. "Soon his soul will be ours." As the lamp's flame grew brighter, Han Li's spiritual sense dimmed, fading into the mouths of the beasts etched on the lantern. Without hesitation, the woman descended toward Shi Chuangkong, still motionless on the ground. From hundreds of feet away, she launched a purple and azure metal chain, piercing his skull with lethal precision, her expression a mixture of triumph and confusion. "Why hasn't his nascent soul fled?" she muttered, puzzled. The woman's elation vanished like mist upon hearing Shi Chuangkong's words, and before she could act, 2 silver pillars erupted from the earth, encasing her in an unbreakable grip. Silver runes surged from the pillars, quickly forming an intricate array, within which rested 2 ancient silver mirrors. The mirrors rippled with spatial fluctuations and emanated immense law power, locking the woman in place midair. At that moment, a pale Shi Chuangkong flipped in midair, another version of him emerging from the ground beneath, his body shaky, as if still reeling from the spiritual damage he had endured. The protective treasure on him had revived him after his unconscious collapse, but instead of returning to the fray immediately, he had concealed his true body and set up the array while leaving behind a false one. Once the fog cleared from his mind, he performed a strange hand seal and pointed at the sky. A streak of silver light shot forth, striking the glass lantern above. The lantern trembled under the blow, shaking violently before spiraling toward the ground. Shi Chuangkong staggered, drenched in sweat, clearly strained from the effort. Han Li sighed, sharing a wry smile with him from afar. "Why didn't you use this treasure earlier, Brother Shi?" "That was far too close," Han Li remarked. Shi Chuangkong, panting, explained, "These twin heavenly silver mirrors are my third brother's prized possessions. I can't refine them, so I need the array to channel their power. Let's focus on finishing them now, or we'll truly be in trouble if they break free," Han Li urged. Trapped in the silver array, the woman's voice came through via transmission, threatening. "Shi Chuangkong, if you kill us, our master will torment you for eternity." Shi Chuangkong sneered, "You're nothing but a pawn for my brother. Do you think Shi Zhanfeng will spare me if I release you?" Without allowing her any further retort, Shi Chuangkong sealed the array and twisted the mirrors with another hand seal. The silver light pillars twisted the very fabric of space, and the woman's body was torn apart in a scream, her nascent soul annihilated in an instant. As the light faded, the remnants of her soul, now mere specks of azure and purple, scattered. Han Li drew them in with a wave of his hand, marveling at their resilience. He took the soul remnants and stowed them in the glass lantern, only for the light within it to flicker and die, leaving the soul sealed within. Puzzled, he tucked the lantern away and returned to Shi Chuangkong, who had recovered a purple storage bracelet from the woman's remains. After inspecting it, Shi Chuangkong offered Han Li the pills and spirit medicines for their souls, though Han Li declined the treasures, requesting only a small book. The book, titled Soul Devouring Refinement Technique, intrigued Han Li, and after a brief pause, Shi Chuangkong consented. It seems to be some sort of cultivation technique. Gafek, take it. The two split the medicines, resting briefly before Han Li voiced his concerns. Not a single elder from the Cloud Mountain Inn came to check on us. It's eerily quiet. They must have been warned. Shi Chuangkong grimly nodded. My eldest brother's influence has long reached the inn. The Heavenly Axe Marquise will have to choose a side after such a commotion. We have to leave Preeminent City, Han Li deduced. Yes, Shi Chuangkong confirmed. But my third brother will send reinforcements soon. I'll leave a message for him. Several minutes later, disguised as scholars, the two made their way to a hidden shop in the northern alley. Inside, Shi Chuangkong revealed a concealed doorway leading them to a secret chamber. There, they found the body of a young shopkeeper, his soul completely drained by the two sisters. This doesn't bode well, Han Li muttered. They've already been here. Shi Chuangkong sighed. There's no point in leaving a message. We must leave immediately. Where to? Han Li asked. Grain Mountain City. It's my territory and should be safer, Shi Chuangkong replied. If it's your territory, why not go there first? Han Li questioned. Shi Chuangkong chuckled wryly. Everyone knows my past there, so it would be too obvious, but now it no longer matters. With urgency pressing upon them, they exited the shop and left Preeminent City through the northern gate. Shi Chuangkong summoned his flying carriage, and with a flash of black light, they sped away into the distance. In a distant corner of the true immortal region, amidst a majestic mountain range where the rocks gleamed like golden jade, a streak of white light soared with incredible speed. This streak carried a massive white beast, over 100 feet in length, its body carved from flawless jade with silver markings atop its head. Atop this beast, a young woman clad in golden robes sat astride, her beauty ethereal yet her expression cold and forbidding. Her golden hair framed her delicate face, but her grip on a towering golden scythe spoke of lethal strength. The scythe, pulsating with power and adorned with countless runes, seemed to bond perfectly with her, radiating an aura that demanded the universe to bend to its will. This was Jin Tong and the Pixiu, their power far beyond what they once were. But despite their newfound strength, a sense of unease gripped them. Behind, an enormous red cloud pursued, constantly shifting and warping into the shape of soldiers and steeds, carrying with it an imposing crimson stone platform. Seated upon the platform was a tall, red-robed man with an imperial aura, his golden crown gleaming like a symbol of authority. Fury etched upon his face, he swept a sleeve through the air, summoning a layer of crimson light that enveloped the platform and surged the red cloud forward, closing the distance rapidly. Go faster, Jin Tong urged, her scythe crashing down onto the Pixiu's back, forcing it to accelerate. In response, the Pixiu's wings unfolded, the silver runes on its head blazing to life. Though its speed increased, it was still not fast enough. The gap between them and the red cloud narrowed, and the red-robed man, with a sudden surge of power, manipulated the very sun itself, swelling it to an enormous size. The air turned suffocating, and the land below began to ignite as the sun's scorching heat ravaged everything in its path. Xiao Bai, Jin Tong commanded. The Pixiu's mouth opened, releasing a burst of silver light that tore the space ahead, collapsing it in on itself. A black vortex materialized, and the Pixiu shot forward with incredible speed, yet the fiery light from the sun descended relentlessly upon them. Jin Tong's golden scythe flashed, releasing a storm of sword chi that clashed with the white rays, causing violent explosions that shook the heavens. Despite her resistance, the red-robed man's power was overwhelming, and the sun loomed ever closer. As the sun descended like an unstoppable asteroid, Jin Tong's eyes burned with determination. A massive golden humanoid projection formed behind her, mirroring her scythe-wielding stance. The golden scythe in her hand glowed with blinding light, its aura reaching a new height as she slashed upward, releasing a crescent of golden energy that cleaved through the descending sun. The sun split in two, crashing down below in an explosion of fiery devastation, shaking the mountains and sending the Pixiu hurtling away. However, Jin Tong's resolve remained unshaken. The Pixiu, now flying at unimaginable speed, was drawing away from the red-robed man. Despite his attempts to counter with a monstrous crimson fist, the Pixiu's spatial storm wreaked havoc on his pursuit. But even as the storm raged, the red-robed man pressed forward, his fury rising. Exhausted from the battle, Jin Tong sat in quiet contemplation, her golden aura now dimmed. Her hands, steady as ever, summoned treasures to hasten her recovery. The Pixiu spoke of seeking aid from their master, but Jin Tong coldly dismissed the suggestion. "I can handle this alone," she asserted. But the Pixiu, loyal and determined, refused to abandon her. As the red-robed man closed in once again, the tension between them thickened and the chase was far from over.